crest of an empire. So this is the empire at its zenith. Thutmose was the most powerful king over Egypt ever. That's what it say. Then Ramesses, right? So I could tell you more and more about it. On the land where Israel is located at, Syria, Phoenicia, Palestine, okay? That's what the times when these kings were black men, you see? This is Thutmose. The Greeks call him Cadmus. Cadmus is a black man, right? You see he has the serpent, the cobra on his head right there. Just like the Cadmean myth says that Cadmus turned into a black serpent at the end and went into the blessed lands, to the islands of the blessed. Cadmus and Harmonia were saved being changed into black serpents and sent by Zeus to the islands of the blessed. According to the tradition, Cadmus brought the alphabet into Greece. So look at this old map. So they came out of Memphis. This is where the children of Israel were encamped in Memphis. And they was trying to come up here to Megiddo, Kadesh, Phoenicia, the islands right here. That island, those islands right here is where Greece is. Going into Greece, Anatolia is the Hittite Empire. Going into Europe, this is Europe right over here. So coming from here to over here. He was leaving oppression here, and he was trying to get, they ended up going over here in the islands right here of the blessed people in the Mediterranean, in the 18th dynasty. Going west. A black man, you see. He has the cobra over his head, the pharaoh, Thutmose. I say it's that same biblical man, Moses, right? And this is what I see here on this register when he died. In the Tuat, Metchet Mu Neptu Tuat. Man with a 5-headed serpent springing forth. That's why I think the Cadmus myth is coming from this right here. The League at Sparta. Is that register? I believe so. And these are the kings that preceded that happening right there. Now you look at more on Thutmose. The reason why I was reading Thutmose, the third, Cadmus, the biblical Moses, right? This is something, an adornment of Egypt. The new prosperity was reflected in the remarkable program of building undertaken by the king's architects. The temple of Ammon at Karnak, in particular, was enlarged and enriched by many new buildings and a number of obelisks. Two of the splendid granite obelisks that he erected there are now in Istanbul. Istanbul is in Turkey, and Rome, the Vatican, Rome, of the two known as Cleopatra's Needles, with which he adorned the temple of the sun god at Heliopolis. One is in New York City Central Park, and the other on the Thames Embankment in London. So it's 4 of them. They took 4 different obelisks. This biblical figure, who is a historical figure, Thutmose, the biblical figure, they made a new Moses to be this guy right here for the white people to believe in. So, but he actually looked like this. This the biblical Moses. The historical figure, Thutmose. This is the Greek Cadmus right here. But, you know, they took everything to Europe that came out of Egypt, right? They mentioned Istanbul, Turkey. 1 obelisk. It mentions Vatican, Rome. Another obelisk. Cleopatra's Needles. 1 in London, England. 1 in New York City, Central Park. And the other in the Thames Embankment. Oh, in London, yeah. During his reign, art and craftsmanship received new impetus from his patronage. The exotic birds, beasts, and plants that he brought back from his campaigns in Asia are depicted on the walls of his festival hall at Karnak. Among the gifts sent him from abroad were a live bear, an elephant, and a giraffe, and birds that give birth every day. Probably domestic hens, which were rare in the Middle East at that time. During the last year of his life, feeling his strength fading, Thutmose appointed his son Amenemhotep II, the son of his second wife, Hatshepsut's daughter Merietri, as co-regent. When he died in 426 BC, he was laid to rest in a remote corner of the Valley of Tombs of the Kings in western Thebes, the best, along with many other royal burials. His tomb was later looted by robbers. The mummy of the pharaoh was one of those discovered in 1889 in a hiding place where the priest kings of the 21st dynasty had hidden them for safety. Of the rich furniture that must originally have been placed in the tomb, only a few fragments were found. His mortuary temple, which was built on a terrace at Deir al-Bahari, beside that of Hatshepsut, was discovered in the year 1962. Nearby, the burial place of the 3 members of his harem was found. Judging by their names, they were Syrian princesses, and though of minor rank, their jewelry and equipment were extremely lavish. Of the kings of ancient Egypt, Thutmose III is perhaps the only one for the modern historian most nearly comes to life. His records, though couched in the boastful and extravagant terms thought befitting of Pharaoh's exploits, leave little doubt not only of his ability as a soldier and a statesman, but also of his abilities as an athlete and a hunter of lion. It's known that he's a hunter of lion, wild cattle, and elephants. From his mummy, it is known that he was a small man, not above 5 feet 3 inches in height. His statures showed a resolute face with a large, high-bridged nose and pleasantly smiling mouth. His fame lived after him. His name inscribed on countless amulets was thought to bring power and protection to the wearers. A popular hymn celebrating his triumphs became a motto for later paeans of victory. In it, the god Amon-Re says, I set the glory and the fear of thee in all lands, and the terror of thee as far as the 4 supports of the sky. The rulers of all foreign countries are gathered together within thy grasp. I stretch out my hands to bind them for thee. That's the law of God of the Thutmose figure. They got 4 obelisks from all of the temples. Karnak and Luxor. They took them to these European places. Istanbul, Turkey, Vatican, Rome, London, England, New York City, New York, in the United States. So, and that's how I say who Mexico belongs to. Same people from the 18th dynasty coming out of Egypt with Moses. So, the biblical Moses, the Hebrews. Historically, they're called the Phoenicians, right? The Phoenicians come out, the kingdom of Egypt, the pre-Columbian era. Of America. So, begins with the Olmec sinners and the Phoenician traders. That's why I had to read Duat. This is on the hieroglyphs. King Seti. King Seti told me the truth about these things. So, King Seti. Seti the first, offering a figure of the goddess mate. Order in truth is mate. This is the goddess mate right here in his hands. Offering that to the west, to Osiris. Osiris was the king of the west. The black man is west. Thoth and Osiris are in the Ament. Remember I told you the Amenti. In the first register. You see, it's order of mate for so many years. And then that first register in the Amenti. Look at it. See, a goddess mate. She starts off in order and truth there. That's the first woman right in the Amenti. The first register. It walks you down to all of the deities or the things that were there. First register. Second register, they go back to this place in a boat. The Amon-Ra figure is the head of the ram. Over to this pyramid structure kept the Isis or something like that. It says that register walks them all over. And I say that's linked to T.O.T. who again, the halls of Amenti are in Mexico City. So Pyramid of the Moon and Sun, Avenue of the Dead. Who are the dead people? The mummies in Egypt. Can you dig it? I mean, and that's what I see in the fifth register at the Amenti. That is the Quetzalcoatl figure right there. The feathered serpents, you see it? The Amenti, Teotihuacan. Tenochtitlan was built right here. This is Tenochtitlan of the Aztecs. At this bottom register right here, do you see it? On the Amduat, I say that is Tenochtitlan of the Aztecs, the monument to the deities of war and rain. The great temple of Templo Mayor was a symbol of Aztec accomplishments and a warning to would-be enemies of their power.
See the symbolism? Can you dig it?